Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Elements and Architecture podcast. And in this episode, we are going to be flying back to China to discuss another architecture, as always. And this architecture is going to be an interesting one. The turn of the century marked the modernization of China, and yet one of the most fascinating projections of this phenomenon is seen from the incorporation of ancient precedents as major inspirations for modern architectural designs. And what do I mean when I say that? Well, basically, one prime example of such architecture is the Chaoyang Park Plaza in Beijing, China, in the Chaoyang district in Beijing. And it is an office building designed by mad architects. This building is located on the edge of Beijing's central business district and serves as a symbol to the fusion of the different eras of China. And what do I mean when I say this? Well, I'm going to explain later when I explain some of the features. And so in this episode, we are going to be introducing the Chaoyang Park Plaza and discuss some of its unique features, namely of its structurality, materiality, and environment. So let's start off with structurality. The structurality of the architecture, which covers the form of the building itself as well as the form of the buildings as a whole. And so the Chaoyang Park Plaza, if you look at any pictures of the building, I suggest you do that, can be viewed as the fusion between Eastern Chinese traditions and contemporary architectural designs, where the form of Chinese garden architecture is executed on a modern scale. And such forms of the incorporation of Chinese nature designs, you can call it that, can be explained by the philosophy of the main designer of the building, or the leader of the Mad Architects, which is an architecture firm, by the way. And basically, the leader of this architecture firm, Ma Yan-song, says, "We want to blur the boundary between nature and the artificial and make it so that both are designed with the other in mind." And he sees humans and nature as coexisting. So we can tell from his philosophies that, this architecture is obviously sort of needs a blend between nature and basically synthetic human designs. And this philosophy really corroborates with the form of the building, or the inspiration of this building, as can be told from the structurality of the building. And this building, the Chaoyang Park Plaza, is inspired by traditional landscape paintings known as shanshui paintings that originates in China, which typically contains mountains, rocks, creeks, rivers, etc. And I suggest you also search up a picture of some Chinese shanshui paintings. And if we look at some of the landscape paintings, we can see that the layers of rocks form very smooth sort of mountain peaks. And this is basically the whole idea of the form, or the inspiration, the structurality of the building. The idea of the mountain peaks seem like the perfect idea for a skyscraper, and is indeed the inspiration for the Chaoyang Park Plaza. Now, the design of this building introduces these elements of traditional landscape paintings on an urban scale. And the two asymmetrical towers on the plaza appear like mountain peaks, basically. And these are the two main towers, of course, and they appear like the mountain peaks drawn in traditional Chinese landscape paintings, where the fluid and curved forms of the building eventually curves into a peak, much like the mountains do in the paintings. And while the layers of the curved facade separated by the fins, you can tell there are basically like these fins, these protrusions in the buildings, where that forms like the layers. The layers of the curved facade separated by the fins create layers in the mountain peaks similar to that in Chinese landscape paintings. And if you look at any of the Chinese landscape paintings, you can tell that there are layers to the mountains. Usually there is one layer and then a layer behind it, and it's basically just like that with the building. And it can be demonstrated from the idea that the layers are separated by the fins with the curved surfaces or the facade of the building. On the other hand, the low-rise buildings also in the plaza appears like mountains during an erosion, which is achieved by the more complex layers on the horizontal axis of the building. When I say that, I mean with a series of steps and uneven surfaces on the low-rise buildings near or in the plaza. And overall, the Chaoyang Park Plaza has a form inspired by traditional Chinese landscape buildings of nature, which is characterized by its smooth and curved edges that eventually turns into a peak to form to a mountain-like shape. And the layers are achieved using the fins that separates the curved layers of glass, which embodies the layers of mountains in traditional Chinese shanshui paintings. And as you can tell, basically the curved form of the building sort of corroborates to the philosophy of the designer of the architecture, Ma Yansong, which is that nature should be blended with synthetic / architecture / artificial designs of these skyscrapers. And so this can be demonstrated from, of course, the form, which is the use of the curves, the aspect of the inspiration from Chinese traditional landscape paintings. And overall, the form just serves as a sort of like a metaphor and symbol or metonym, whatever you call it, to traditional Chinese nature designs, you can say. And that is also blended in with the skyscraper and the urban aspect of the building. And basically that's it for the form. And now we are moving on to the materiality of the building. Much like the structurality of the building, the materiality of the building is actually designed to further corroborate to the traditional Chinese design inspired by the natural nature in the landscape paintings. And what do I mean? I'm going to explain further. The exterior facade of the building are constructed using tinted glass, and this is a key material to the building because it allows the building to create the effect of a black curved surface. And basically, if you view the building from far away, it appears like some sort of black and like asymmetrical and very much fluid-like building. And this choice of material with the tinted glass replicates the aesthetics of traditional Chinese ink painting. And as you can see here, that's the use of materials with the tinted glass is another way to further extend on the idea of incorporating in ancient precedents from Chinese landscape paintings. And furthermore, such dark and black surfaces achieved with the use of tinted glass, accompanied by the smooth and curved structurality or the form of the architecture. So basically the black surface, the dark and mysterious black surface, along with the smooth curved peaks of the building, creates a mysterious and overall ambient sort of ambient effect that serves as the incorporation of tranquility in the bustling urban environment. And basically what I mean is, when you look at it from far away, when you look at this building from far away, with the curved forms and the darkness of the building, you get a sense of ambience, get a sense of mysterious, and ultimately ambience, basically. And when you view this building in the urban setting of Beijing, you kind of get the sense that this is the incorporation of basically tranquility in the bustling urban environment. The idea of peace, and basically what this is trying to achieve is that this sense of tranquility or peace, as I just mentioned, captures the essence of traditional Chinese landscape paintings, which emphasizes the idea of tranquility by employing the elements of nature. So with all the elements of nature in Chinese traditional landscape buildings, like the creeks, the water, the mountains and the water, all goes together to create this sense of tranquility. And this is exactly what this building is trying to do, which is to utilize the materials, the tinted glass, and also the curved, smooth forms, which we just talked about with the structurality of the building, creates a sense of peace and tranquility that is also emphasized by traditional Chinese philosophy. So you sort of see the corroboration between Chinese traditional philosophy and basically modern architecture, because it is a skyscraper after all, and it is made for offices, which is a symbol to a symbol to modernity, I guess. And overall, to summarize, the tinted glass along with the curved structure of the building creates a sense of ambience in the urban setting and overall the materiality is sort of like a corroboration or a very good addition to emphasize the idea of tranquility, and also emphasize, I guess, the form of the building, which is the curved, smooth form that is meant to create a sense of ambience, I guess. And then finally, we are going to be talking about the space in this building. And the idea of space and environment is basically how space is used and how environment is prioritized in the Chaoyang Park Plaza. So let's start with some of the basic ones. So the incorporation of bamboos and Eastern landscape elements, I should really say, is a way to create a deeper connection between traditional Chinese elements and modern architectural designs. So since a lot of the plants or elements used, such as pine trees, bamboos, rocks, as well as the ponds, it's an incorporation of nature into the plaza, and it also demonstrates like this sort of connection between traditional Chinese elements and modern architectural designs, since we can see it's sort of like an incorporation of greenery, but it's also an incorporation of the symbols of Eastern traditional elements in modern architectural designs, which is exactly what this building is. And such Eastern landscape elements in the plazas serves as an addition, I guess, to the idea that this building is a sort of combination and fusion between traditional Chinese elements and modern architectural designs, and it also serves as a fusion between as a symbol to the fusion between modern architectural designs and nature. So there's these two contrasts in the building. And not only is nature shown through the form of the building, but also in the incorporation of, and when I say not only shown through the form, I mean the overall, the form, the curved surfaces, and the sort of similarity between the Chinese landscape paintings with the mountains. Not only is that nature shown through that, but also in the incorporation of environmentally green technologies in the design of the building. Specifically, we see that the fins on the building, which as I mentioned, serves as a way to accentuate the layers of the mountain peaks in the building. Also, and separates as the layers separate, that serves as a separation between the layers of curved glass surface. And this fin also functions as an energy-efficient ventilation and filtration system, actually. And also the ponds at the bottom allows for interior air to be cooled during the summers. So we can see how the form is not only for the aesthetic purpose of sort of creating the similarity between or drawing inspiration from Chinese traditional landscape buildings, but also we see these elements being used for a functional purpose, such as, also I forgot to mention, the ponds, where basically it's supposed to be used as an addition to the nature of the building, but also, as you can see, as I just mentioned, it also creates a function other than its aesthetic purpose. And that is it for this episode. Basically, in this episode, we have discussed the structurality of the Chaoyang Park Plaza with sort of the inspiration from the Chinese traditional landscape buildings, shanshui paintings, with the curved building form that sort of forms into a peak, and also the fins that separates the glass surfaces that creates the layers of peaks. And we see the form being inspired mainly from the traditional Chinese landscape paintings, and also the materiality. We also talked about the tinted glass and how it's used to create this ambient effect of the building and create this, which also corroborates with the Chinese philosophy of tranquility. And also finally the use of space and environment with the incorporation of bamboos and actual nature in the plaza of the building. And basically that is it with the building. And I said this is a very special building because, well, it's very much dependent on nature and such. And so yeah, that is it for this episode of the podcast. And maybe we're gonna explore another architecture in Beijing next time, or I can do something different. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening, and be sure to give this podcast a thumbs up. And I'll see you in another episode where we discuss a different architecture. See you around. Bye.